that I consider at 101. And as you mentioned, it does depend on your team needs. But this is more so just because the player is just so insane. Jamar Chase going to the Bengals. Now, I didn't love the fit, I guess, in terms of like target share or whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's Jamar Chase, and he might just command everything right from the top, right from the get-go, especially that history with Joe Burrow. So I love this guy. I love the player. I mean, most people's number one receiver, including you. What do you like about Jamar Chase? How do you see this fit in Cincy? Are you worried at all about the depth chart?
Yeah, the only thing that I questioned about it was I would have taken Penei Sewell. I think they were all, they're on a similar plane as prospects, but at left tackle, it's you so rarely see prospects at that plane. And then obviously Burrow had gotten injured last season, and the Bengals offensive line is shit. But outside of that, it's a perfect fit. Right. And you spoke to target share. I'm less concerned about Jamar Chase as I am with Mr. Higgins and Mr. Boyd's, because let's just say Joe Burrow likes fucking throwing the ball to Jamar Chase. Those T. Higgins and Boyd, they better show up early to training camp and be cozying up to Joe and, hey Joe, I brought you lunch, Joe. I got you your water, Joe. Running up to him, whatever. I got some Gatorade for you, Joe. Yep. Like that's what it's gonna have to be like. Jamar Chase, the second he was drafted, he was the wide receiver one on that team. With other teams, that would just be a supposition. With that team, it's a stone cold fact. He and Joe Burrow, less than, or a little over a year ago or whatever, we saw them be the most dominant quarterback wide receiver single season duo in arguably the history of college football. That was the year that Chase won the Biletnikoff for the most explosive offense in the history of college football. And what's even crazier about that is, Burrow, Chase, the number two receiver on that team was Justin Jefferson, who just had one of the most impressive rookie seasons of anyone at any position in NFL history. And he was the secondary receiver on that team. So, I mean, Chase is going to come in. He's going to dominate right away. Burrow knows exactly where he wants the ball. And Burrow is what was special about Burrow was the ability to put the ball with accuracy and placement to any sector of the field, and then also the thing of hanging in the pocket. I mentioned that with Fields. Fields has the same thing as Burrow of like, I'm hanging in, and the toughness, but Burrow's got that that sort of slapdash thing in his head where he knows the second. He just got a great feel for like, all right, fuck, like right now it's got to go. Right. Like where Fields, that thing is still developing, where sometimes the bomb blows up in his hand, as it were. But like, because of that, Burrow buys all that extra time. And you saw, Chase is, he's the downfield dude, right? Like it's that explosion, and it's, in a package that's really strong. It's why I comp him to Roddy White. He doesn't, Roddy White was not, when you watch him at UAB and then when he went to the NFL, it was not in a frame that you typically thought of as a guy that consistently won downfield. And yet he did anyway, and that, like, when he went into the NFL, I was like, is he going to be able to keep doing the stuff he did at UAB? He sure is, because his acceleration, that explosion, you can't stay with him like in the first, 5-10 yards or whatever. So he creates the window right off the bat. Right. And the DBs, you saw Chase a couple times. A DB caught him, at the end on some of these deep balls. But his ball skills are so effing sick. Like, even when the DBs got back there, it's not even a 50-50 ball when it's Joe Burrow throw to Jamar Chase. Like, and if you don't get back there, well, it's a touchdown. If you didn't leave deep help, it's over. So we have all that different stuff to your thing, again, explosion, strength. It's the defense has to respect you deep because of that special sauce. His whole game starts off of that. You have to respect it. You have to. So, the safety, the cornerback playing on him, they have to respect it. And everything flowers off of that where, he gets a little bit of a, sort of a built-in head start on intermediate stuff and stuff like that, because you have to, it's like, facing, the NFL's most vaunted speed rusher. The offensive tackle is going to be sitting back just a little bit more on his heels, every single time, because he knows that guy takes everyone's outside shoulder. Right. And so, just a little bit, but that little bit gives the dude a little bit of a head start if he wants to go inside whenever he wants. Right. Yeah. And so it's the same thing with Chase, and the ball skills translate. in the intermediate area as well. He's another guy that's going to help with spacing because of how consistently he wins downfield for the other guys. I think he's a great fit. Like Higgins is another downfield guy that was a good, fit for Burrow as well. But he's more of the, he's on the higher end of the evolutionary pole, but it's more of the generalized jump ballers, without the premium athleticism, the bigger guys. It's like, like the Preston Williams is like on right. He's like the less evolved, it's like, did you watch that movie Multiplicity with Michael Keaton? It's like all the different Michael Keatons, it's like,
I have not, no, but I get where you're getting at.
Yeah. It's like the line of continuum, or it's like, the ape man poster in middle school, where it's like, the different apes to the man, like, Preston Williams is like the furthest end of like the jump baller thing or whatever. And then, whoever I was just is
Higgins.
T Higgins is yes, exactly. Like because he just misses that athleticism threshold, but he's so good at like getting up in the sky and pulling the thing down. So like I think those two complement each other really well. And Boyd is a guy we know if his only limitation it's just the athletic stuff. Like and so he's a really reliable guy. Especially with the weapons they now have on the outside. It goes back to the spacing thing, which I think is an underrated concept in football. Changing the geometry of the field, stuff like that. Chase, yes, in a vacuum, improves that receiving core a bunch. He's going to vacuum up a bunch of targets. He's going to put up huge numbers as a rookie, et cetera, et cetera. But he also helps some of those other guys because of the measures, the defenses have to go to in order to take some of his things off the table.
I'd love it. And what I'm hearing here too is Joe Burrow could just go absolutely, assuming he's healthy, he bounces back the right way. He could go berserk with these types of weapons if they become as indefensible as Jamar Chase could make them. And you look
the only thing I'll say is I think they still need to build that offensive line. They put that off, but I agree, they're on that track to building that juggernaut.
I know. Let's fingers crossed we don't get another injury like last year, because they could be crazy. And even before he got hurt, Joe Burrow, weeks 1 through 10, the Bengals ranked first in plays per game. They dropped to 31st once he got hurt. Situation neutral pass, they were 8th. And situational neutral pass rate, they were 1st. So they were just chucking it early and often. And again, this was before they had a Jamar Chase that just changes the entire complexion of an already pretty explosive offense. So I'm stoked for it. I know it looks a bit crowded on that target totem pole, but given how much volume they were already feeding that passing offense last year, and then you get a guy like Jamar Chase in there, I'm not overly concerned. I'm full agreement that Jamar Chase is atop this depth chart. He's the highest ranked guy I have in redraft dynasty, all that good stuff. But I don't think it necessarily is like a death knell for T Higgins or Tyler Boyd either, just because of how indefensible it's going to become. And I just think Joe Burrow could be legitimately insane.
Plus, the offensive gains they're going to have, having a full, look at their numbers from last year, then consider a full season of Burrow, plus, extrapolated over 17, obviously, but then the progress of Burrow over that, plus, the receiver one adding, X production over expected. And then, down the totem pole or whatever, like, I think that offense is going to add a bunch of touchdowns next year. Those aren't all going to Jamar Chase. Like, T Higgins is an awesome red zone option. Like, he might not get as many targets per game, maybe, but like his fantasy points could absolutely be even more, because I don't know how many touchdowns he scored last year, but like they're going to be in the red zone a lot, and I could see him targeted quite a bit. Just use one example.
100%. Yeah. Even if the sheer number goes down a little bit for Higgins, the quality could completely skyrocket. And he might, she said, those jump balls be their top red zone threat right there. As good as Jamar Chase is with the body control and everything too. Like, I just don't know how you might stop if this offense gets humming, other than the offensive line. That might be the only way you can stop these guys, is getting to Burrow as fast as you can. But if they can craft a playbook where they're getting out quick and then dumping it deep at the once the defense is kind of on their heels, it could be just impossible to stop. So I'm looking forward to this Cincy team. Just fingers crossed Burrow is healthy this year and can really orchestrate everything.